Hello my gorgeous loves out there and welcome. In today's video, I'm going to be ranking my recent palette purchases. I have 13 palettes here to go over and I've gotten a chance to really use them and really formulated my thoughts about them. So I'm ready to share that with you guys today and do it in a ranking style. But before we get into this video, if you're new here, hello, welcome. My name is Bree and I'm just a crazy lover of all things beauty. And I like to post a lot of fun and colorful makeup content. I like to do a lot of indie makeup, so if that is what you're into, then please hit that subscribe button and join this little family. But with that being said, let's get into this video. I have to admit, this was a really hard ranking, and I feel like I say that in every ranking video that I do because sometimes it is hard, especially when you've been trying a lot of really good palettes. It just feels weird to put something that you really enjoyed at the bottom of a ranking. But for the sake of the video, I had to put something at the bottom. I had to put something at the top. But just know that none of these palettes are bad. They're all good. None of them had quality issues. This is all going to be based on just like personal preferences when it comes to color stories, versatility, like how much do I see myself actually using it? Is it unique to my collection? Like things like that is what I based my ranking on. Now, if I rank something very high that you hate or rank something very low that you love, please don't take it personal. This is just my personal opinion and preferences when it comes to makeup. We can all be friends here. Also, I wanted to mention that I did film this eye look that I have on my eyes today. I think it came out really cool. I'm using the Serenity palette from Cosmic Brushes. I actually filmed it for Instagram. If you want to check that out, it's already live on my Instagram page for Breezy_beauty, but I'll link my, Instagrams below like I always do, just in case you're curious on how I put this look together. So I think we should now get into the ranking. All right, so number 13 on the ranking is the Alice in Wonderland from Sigma. This is a collab with Disney. It is a beautiful palette, great quality. The mattes are richly pigmented, nice and smooth and buttery, and it has some really pretty metallics in here. You see there's a mix of warm tone nudes. It has some teals in here. I feel like you could do a good amount of looks. Now, overall, it's a little bit more on the muted side, and Sigma's like metallic formula is a little bit more of that traditional smooth foiled metallics. They're not extra shifty or extra sparkly. I mean, some have some extra sparkles, but overall, it's that traditional smooth formula, and I know a lot of people like that, especially if you have textured eyelids. You want it to be a little bit more smooth and easier to spread on, but I like the extra sparkle. That's what I go for. So Sigma doesn't have my most favorite metallic formula, and overall, I think the color story doesn't inspire me as much, and I feel like it's kind of similar to the Cinderella palette in a lot of ways. I mean, I think they pair nicely together, but I'm just not as inspired by this as the other palettes that I'm going to show you. Then the next palette, which is number 12 on the ranking, is from Nomad Cosmetics. This is the Hudson Valley palette. It's the ultimate fall color story and palette and setup. It's really pretty, like the packaging, and then the colors in here, there's just so many beautiful tones and some cool tone greens, some warm tones. There's 3 metallics in the center, and I just get happy when I look at this. Now, the only thing is Nomad has a more buildable matte formula, and I've said this in so many ranking videos, so I have to layer up the shadows a lot more, and I just prefer shadows that are, very pigmented from the start. Like that's what I like. So I have to work with these more, and it's a matte heavy palette in the formula that is not necessarily my most favorite from the brand. It's workable. What I really love from Nomad is their metallics, and this one has more like smooth, almost satin-like metallics in here. So it's not full of my most favorite formulas from Nomad, but I do think the color story is beautiful. And if you like a more buildable matte formula, you like more satin metallics, I think you would really like this palette, especially if you like the color story. It's just not my perfect formula. It's not a bad formula. It just is not totally my preference when it comes to eyeshadows, but I still love Nomad. I still buy their products. I just really love them as a brand, and like their packaging, their theming and everything. I just keep purchasing from them. I think they're just really good overall. Then the next palette, which is a more colorful, brighter palette, which I'm surprised it is like lower here on the ranking, but it's because it's a very typical rainbow palette. This is the Rudo Ramai palette from Unearthly Cosmetics. This is a collab with Cheapo Gray. This one is a very typical rainbow palette. It has little monochromatic rose, except this one that has a mix of green and yellow. And I feel like I have this many times over in my collection. It's not as unique as, you know, some of the other palettes that I'm about to show you. So I feel like I could create the same kind of looks I could get out of this with a lot of other palettes in my collection. So it doesn't excite me as much because I have this many times over in my collection. But I love Unearthly Cosmetics and I always pick up all their palettes. I'm just a hoarder when it comes to Unearthly. But I do think it's really pretty, and the formula is the usual good, consistent Unearthly formula. I'm just not as inspired, and I don't feel the need to use this as much because I have so much of this already in my collection. But it's still really pretty, and I think Cheapo Gray did an amazing job, and I like the whole story behind the palette. I think it's really beautiful. Then number 10 in the ranking, which is from Cindy Grace. This is also a collab palette with the Fancy Face, the Tropicolor palette. This is also really beautiful. It has a lot of like jewel tones in here. We have some pops of color. We have some neutrals. We have some beautiful shifty shades in here. I really love these two right here. This like kind of taupey metallic, and it has like this antique kind of gold. I think the pastels in here, like the mattes, are so pigmented and beautiful. You can use them as inner corner highlights. And I really, really love this coconut shade right here. It has like a sheen to it. It's like a sateen matte because it's not necessarily a metallic, but it's not necessarily a matte. There's like some kind of shine, and it's so pigmented, guys. I love using this as an inner corner highlight. I often pull this palette with other palettes just to use this coconut shade because look at how pigmented that is, and I love the little sheen that it gives off. So I think the matte formula is absolutely stunning in this palette. The only thing is the metallics are more satin-like. They're more traditional metallics, and you know, like I always say, I love my super dimensional shifty metallics. So Cindy Grace is not a brand I necessarily go for their metallics. It's really their mattes that pull me in. So this is why I picked it up, and of course I wanted to support the Fancy Face, and I still really love this, and I see so many looks that you can do with this. It just doesn't have my favorite metallic formula, and I love my metallics. Like, I rather put a bunch of metallics on my eyes than matte. So if a palette has like subpar mattes, but they have really good metallics, it will always be high in the ranking for me because that is the kind of shadows that I love so much. Then the next one in the ranking, this is number 9. This is a more small curated palette, but I do really like the colors in here. This is the Halloween palette from Shroud. This is a collab with the Valley Bean, and this was the year of collabs. I'm telling you, there's so many collab palettes I've tried, but this is really pretty. It has warm tones in here, a little bit of grunge. I adore this black flame shade. It has so many beautiful shifts to it. I also like this like rusty orange, and I feel like I was able to get a good variety of looks. Like I did a really warm orange one, then I was able to do a really smoky burgundy green look, and I thought the formula was really nice in here, and I am inspired by it. Even though it's small and it's limited on how much I can do, I still want to keep reaching for it because I really like the formula in here, and I really think the color story is just so fun and creative, and it makes me want to try like different combos whenever I look at this. And this palette pairs nicely with the It's Freaking Bats palette, the first collab that they did together. I really do feel like they kept that in mind. Like, they're really good companion palettes to one another, but I think it's really cute. It's just not as versatile as the other palettes that I'm going to show you. Then the next palette in the ranking, which is a more neutral muted color story, but I love the formula in here. This is the Nearly Natural palette from Glaminatrix. This is a nudie glam palette that has a few colors in it. Like, it has this olive, it has some like mauvey like berry tones in here, and then it has some cool tone neutrals, some warm tone neutrals. It is just really pretty. The mattes are so pigmented and so silky and buttery. Like they just feel so soft in the fingers and it picks up so nicely. And then the metallics in here are super sparkly, so pretty. I just can't get over the formula in here. But Glaminatrix has a really good eyeshadow formula, and I feel like I could just do such like glamorous looks with this. I could do such beautiful like date night looks or going to a wedding. I feel like this would be a perfect palette for a bride as well. I just feel inspired by it, and I find it a very romantic glam palette. Then number 7 on the ranking, which is more of a muted color story, but with a twist because there are pops of color. This is the Blend Bunny Cosmetics All Done Up palette. I love how they set up their palettes. They have like these monochromatic rows. There's always light shades, mid-tones, depth, and then beautiful metallics in here. And I love the color options. Like it has the mustards, the cool grays, it has olive shades, it has oranges and some pinky tones. There's a good variety in here, and I feel inspired by this palette even though it's more on the muted end. I just see so many color combos that I can do with this, and I get excited when I look at this palette. I feel like that's why it's more in like the mid range. I just love it. I think it's beautiful. The quality is really nice, and I enjoy a lot of Blend Bunny Cosmetics products. I think they're a really good brand, and I feel like they're up and coming, like they're getting a lot of hype and they're growing, and I'm so excited for them because I think they're doing a really good job. Then going on to number 6 in the ranking, which this is a smaller palette. It's a little bit more limited, but for some reason this palette really excites me and it inspires me, and I think the quality is amazing. This is the Theresa is Lethal palette. This was a collab with Lethal Cosmetics and Theresa from Theresa is Dead, and she did an amazing job with this palette. I love the packaging on here, but the shades here are just so different and pretty and special. The metallics are gorgeous. Like this is one of the prettiest silvers that I've come across, and for a while nothing could compare to the silver in one of my favorite Nabla palettes, but this one is really close, if not at the same level of beautifulness when it comes to a gorgeous silver metallic. Then this like light blue, like shifty one called Space Trash. That's like a pink shift, is so pretty. And then the tones of mattes in here are so unique and different. And like the mix of colors are just so inspiring because I wouldn't necessarily think to pair these kind of colors together, but they just make sense. Like when you start putting the shades on your eyes, I'm like, wow, this is stunning. And every time I play with this palette, I've been blown away by it. I feel like the formula just extra pigmented, extra special. So I just think overall this is a beautiful smaller palette, but you can do a lot with this. You can do purple things, you can do something a little bit more teal, something a little bit more warm, you can do something smoky with like a pop. It's just so pretty. So I really love that, and that's why it's pretty high up there for a little palette. Then going on to number 5 in the ranking, which is a new brand to me, and I was very blown away by the quality and experience I had with this brand. But this is the Spooked palette from Gourmande Girls. This is also a collab palette with Doodles by the Bunny. It's cute little packaging. It just was such a beautiful Halloween palette. I love the color story in here. I think the options are excellent. Like you have these purples and warm tones and these nudie shades. You have some red in here, and then the metallics are really pretty. You have some dual chrome shifty shades. You have this beautiful matte white, which is quite pigmented. You can definitely use that as an inner corner highlight. So I was impressed by that because it's hard to find a good pigmented matte white. Then these shifty shades, like the greens and the golds, are so pretty. This pink, they're a little bit more like a little bit more flaky to the touch, but they pack such a punch on the eyes. And I was able to do just completely different looks with this. Like I did a smoky red look, I was able to do a very smoky purple look, then I was able to do something a little bit more nudie with like a pop of green, and I was just happy with every look that I was able to create with this. And this is another palette that when I look at it, I'm like so inspired and I want to play with it like even more. Like look at that dual chrome. It's a pink to green. It's so stunning, and I'm just really impressed by this brand, and I'm excited to try more from Gourmande Girls because this was just really good, and Doodles by the Bunny also did an amazing job with that palette. Then number 4 in the ranking, which is from Nomad. And I had a palette really low from Nomad at the bottom, and now I have one that's really high up there. And this is the Monteverde Cloud Forest palette, and they killed it with this. I love the packaging, and the color story is so fun and bright and tropical. Like, look at that. And there's so many beautiful greens in here, and it has these really bright mattes that were surprisingly pigmented, and they're almost leaning neon. I don't think they're true neons, but I was stunned at how bright they are. Like, look at that. Isn't that beautiful? And then it has like this gorgeous, shifty, grungy olive gold that shifts to pink. That is absolutely gorgeous. And it has like this beautiful magical mist shade, which is also so pretty. Like, look at those tones. So this palette has like the metallic formula I really love from Nomad, because they've been doing like dual chromes and really sparkly shades in here. And I thought the mattes were surprisingly pigmented in this one as well. So I really love this palette. I think it's one of my most favorite palettes from Nomad, and I was just really impressed with this. I think they did such a good job at capturing the vibe of Costa Rica, and I'm so happy to have that. Then number 3 in the ranking, which I actually just filmed the video using this is the Vitality palette from Unearthly Cosmetics. This is one of their big ones. They don't usually do palettes this big, but I'm happy that they did, because I really like the color story in here, and I think you have so many beautiful options, so it's very versatile. You can do so much with this, and I feel like I could take this as a standalone palette on a trip and have so many options that I could do, because I could do something purpley, greeny, warm, berry. The mattes are nicely pigmented. They're easy to work with, easy to blend. I think Unearthly has a really good formula. They have just really good products. They're a very high quality brand. Then these beautiful shifty dual chrome shades in here are also so pretty. Like, look at those. And I just see so much that I could do with this, and it just inspires me, and I want to keep playing with it. And I love when a palette can make me want to come back to it, because I have so much in my collection, and a lot of palettes can easily get ignored, but this is one that I definitely do not want to ignore, and I really enjoy using it. Then number 2 in the ranking, which I just tried this brand this year, and I was so impressed with this palette as well. This is the Celestial Garden palette from Bellabeaute Bar. This was a collab with MJones, and I think it is so pretty. I love the theme and the setup of this palette. It has these beautiful little monochromatic rows, and you have a lot of different formulas to work with in here as well. So you have these mattes here, and then you have these beautiful dual chrome metallics that are just so shifty and gorgeous and beautiful on the eyes. And then it has this beautiful multi-chrome iridescent shade, which you can use as like inner corner like highlight. And then right here are all these beautiful cake liners, and the formula on the cake liners are excellent. They're very creamy and pigmented. All you have to do is add some water, and you can add these like little special details to your eye look. And this was the year of graphic liners for me. Like, I can't get enough of it. Like, I have graphic liners on my eye today, because I just think it's so fun, and you can add interesting details and take your makeup look up, you know, a notch, and do something a little different, make it a little bit more special. So I love that that's in here as well. So I just feel so inspired by this. I love it. I think the formula was really excellent, and I just think Bellabeaute Bar did a great job, and MJones, and just the whole idea behind it, and the theming and how it was set up. It's just so aesthetically pleasing, and I'm very happy to have this. And because I love this so much, I went and bought another palette from Bellabeaute Bar that I cannot wait to come in the mail. Then number 1 on the ranking, which I was shocked that I love this so much, and I feel kind of bad at putting this in the number 1 spot because it's an expensive palette, but I think it's worth every penny. This is the Danessa Myricks Transcendence palette. This is their holiday palette for this year, and man, this is beautiful, guys. This is so gorgeous, and it blew my mind away because the formula is so richly pigmented, so buttery, so smooth, and super stunning. And even though I have some singles that compare to these that are from indie brands, I'm still happy to have this palette. Like, even knowing that now, I'd still buy this palette because it was just so good. Like, look at that. I just have to swatch so you guys see how smooth and richly pigmented these metallics are. They're so shifty and buttery and beautiful. Then you also get this cool row right here of water activated metallic dual chrome liners that actually work really well once you put water in there. Then you have these 2 chrome flakes that a lot of brands are coming out with right now. I think this is the first time I've ever seen it in a press version, and they're interesting. Like, I have to learn to work with these because it's a little bit more textured and I have to figure out how to work them on my lids, but I think they're really cool, and I think that's a cool addition. So you get a lot to play with. I think there's some that are called like glass metallics or diamond metallics. I can't fully remember all the different formulas in here, but you have just so many things to play with, and I just love it. And I love pairing this with other palettes. If I just want to go on with some quick like mattes and then get something special on the lids, I will reach for this palette, and it just transforms the look. Like, they're so good. And I'm sorry to say that. I feel like weird saying that because it's such a pricey palette, but if you think about it, indie multi-chrome shadows can be very expensive, and you get a bunch in one palette, and I think it's just worth it. I mean, you actually save money in the end by buying a palette like this instead of buying single. So that is why that is #1 on the ranking, and so loved, and I'm so happy that I ended up getting that. But I really did enjoy playing with all of these palettes. I think they all are special and good in their own way, and I just think this is the year of amazing collabs, amazing palettes, and I am so here for it. I've been really enjoying everything that I've tried this year. But you guys will have to let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Are you surprised by my ranking? Would you have put these palettes in different places? Or like, what palettes are you loving on? Or what palettes do you hate this year? I would love to hear from all of y'all. And if you're new here and you enjoyed this video, you like a lot of fun, colorful makeup content, you like a lot of indie makeup, then please hit that subscribe button and join this little family. I'd love to have you here. Also, don't forget to check out the description below. I will link all the palettes. I'll link any video of mine that I did on these palettes. I'm pretty sure I did one on all of them. I will also link my makeup that I'm wearing, like my eye makeup, my face makeup, in case you're curious on what I am wearing. I will also have my contact and my social media platforms. I'm also on Instagram as Breezy Lifestyle and Breezy_Beauty, and this look will be on my Breezy_Beauty. So if you want to join my Instagram fam, I would really love that. But guys, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video, for being here, supporting my channel, being amazing. I just really appreciate all of you, and I just hope you're all doing well wherever you are in the world, and I'm just sending y'all so much light and love. But until next time, bye guys.